The Cape Peninsula is a favoured destination for the international jet set. But a few kilometres across the Blue Sea, there is another story that is just as compelling.
There's nothing more beautiful than the Ferris Cape on a hot summer's day, with landmarks such as Table Mountain, the 12 Apostles and Lion's Head, and who can forget the notorious Robben Island, where tales of tragedy and triumph have shaped this very country.
To help Yanez explore this iconic prison island, guest presenter and international model Claudia Henkel. As a former Miss South Africa, Claudia has travelled to the most exotic places on earth and rubbed shoulders with the rich and famous.
Yanez, did you know one of the first uses for Robben Island was a leper colony? And what they did was they took those that were infected to the island to keep them away from general public, and also in their minds they thought it would make them better if they had a view of the mountain.
That's interesting. You're quite clever for a blonde, eh, Claudia? Do you know why they call it Robben Island?
Not at all, but I'm sure you're going to tell me.
I'll try. I have to stick with you now. South Africa used to be a Dutch colony. So the Dutch came here first and they called it Robben Island, and Robben actually means seal in English, so it's Seal Island.
Okay, and so we carry on. The usual way to Robben Island would be from the waterfront.
Okay.
Your day's just about to get better.
If there's one thing guaranteed to attract more attention than a gorgeous blonde, it might just be an Aston Martin Vantage, one of the world's most powerful production cars. Claudia is currently the face of Truly Exclusive, a travel company specialising in VIP holidays. For our trip to Robben Island, they arranged not just a sports car, but a luxury yacht. This particular yacht is owned by ex-political prisoner Tabani Zulu.
Hello.
Hi, welcome on board.
Thank you. How are you?
Fine.
Tabani, how you doing?
I'm fine, how are
Yanez,
you?
please promise me one thing. Don't leave me on the island.
Absolutely guaranteed.
The first time Tabani made the crossing to Robben Island was a slightly less convivial experience. He was 19 years old and had just been arrested for furthering the aims of the ANC. These days, as owner of a company that restores old boats, he's a lot more relaxed.
Tabani, I really love this five-star luxury, but speak to me about 1987, when you arrived here under different circumstances.
I was a prisoner. We were put underneath the boat and we were leg ironed. It was about 6 of us, so you couldn't see what was happening above you. So I really don't have a very clear picture of even how that boat looked like at the time.
We're approaching the island. How are you feeling right now?
To a certain degree, it brings back those sad memories, because that was meant to actually affect you personally, and it did have an impact on you. But I have geared myself psychologically for the outcome of my involvement in the politics at the time. So I was very strong inside, and I managed to hold the tide.
The prison itself is in much the same condition as when he left it, having been converted into a living museum. Under apartheid, over 3,000 political prisoners were kept here, including Nelson Mandela, Kgalema Motlanthe, and Jacob Zuma. Tabane's cell was in A section, one of 4 blocks where South Africa's future leaders were locked away.
This is A section, and this is where my cell is. I think it's here where I spend most of my time when I was on Robben Island. I'm sure you can come in, guys.
Tabani, I don't know what you must be feeling right now, but holding that key and opening up a cell that you spent so many years in, what emotions are going through your head?
It does bring those sad memories. I was quite very young. I had no idea how my life was going to be on Robben Island. But look, I was not the only one. I was a group of about 10 people who were here, so we will chat a lot and you won't spend quality time thinking about the bad things. So yeah, it was quite hard, but I managed.
The solidarity on the island has now become the stuff of legend. Conditions were not easy. The cells were cramped and relatives could only visit twice a year. But the men knew that their cause was righteous. Despite the hours of hard labour and degrading conditions, they continued the struggle and formed teaching circles to promote literacy. They even smuggled cameras into the prison to record their experiences. And from his cell, in the infamous B section, prisoner 46664 prepared not just for his own liberation, but the liberation of his country.
And this is a section where Mr. Mandela was kept in. He was kept in cell number 5, which is the 4th cell. And this is where he was kept for 18 years. Would you like to?
I would. I've actually got goosebumps. mattress.
No, well, they slept on a bed only after 1973, but the general prison population only got beds in 1978.
Do you mind if I lie down and feel what Mr. Mandela felt like for so many years?
Make yourself comfortable.
It's hard, eh?
Comfort was certainly not high on the prison agenda. Nelson Mandela was eventually released in February 1990. The world he found was quite different from the one he remembered. A world without Martin Luther King or Steve Biko. In the time he had been locked away, the Soviet Union had collapsed and the Berlin Wall had fallen. There was a hole in the ozone and scientists were worried about a new disease called AIDS. And he had been working with a pick in a lime quarry, where he and his comrades took the chance to discuss the news of the day. This was their university.
Working in such an extreme environment, there must have been quite a camaraderie between all the prisoners.
Well, this was always a place of critical debates and everlasting learning, irrespective of your political affiliation. They would debate cultures, religions, and how political parties would differ. And I think we can actually look at this as a little parliament on its own.
Hidden away in mine shafts, the prisoners shared knowledge and debated political philosophy. Another dramatic story unfolds at the shoreline. Robben Island has 4 visible shipwrecks, but beneath the cold waters lie the remains of over 100 vessels. Only 3 kilometers long, Robben Island occupies a significant part in South African history. The boat ride back to Cape Town offers a chance to reflect on the young men whose characters were forged there.
After having visited the island today, I've actually got a complete new level of respect for all the political prisoners. The building blocks of this very country were probably put together on Robben Island.
That's absolutely true, and that's one part that makes one to feel very much grateful that there are people who have made such a meaningful contribution to be where we are, and the building blocks have been put in different ways, and being in prison was one part of making sure that today we have the kind of country that we have, the kind of democracy that we enjoy today. So it's a great achievement that we should pride ourselves for.
In the shadow of Table Mountain, once a distant horizon for Tabane, a toast to freedom.